Today I'd like to show you or walk you through my process for building my home climbing wall. I'll include a list of materials in the description, and this video will show multiple time-lapse videos of me building the wall, and I will kind of narrate along the way and talk through pros and cons of the way I did it, do's and don'ts, and kind of review overall my process, and hopefully that'll help anyone else watching this video to build their own. Otherwise, this was just fun to make, so I hope you enjoy. So before we jump into the build, I want to take a look at the concept I designed on Fusion 360, which is free to use, by the way. You'll see the vertical kicker board with the angled wall on top of it there, and the diagonal support arms on either side. One change I made is that I actually used two on each side, so two 2x6s kind of sandwiched up against each other to support the angled wall. And then here it shows 16 inches on center for the framing in the back, but I actually did closer to 24 in the actual build. And then we also don't see that horizontal cross brace that will go on the ground parallel to the wall, which I'll talk more about in the build videos. Here is a picture of a T-nut. I just wanted to give some context here because I talk a lot about them in the video. This is basically a piece of hardware that you hammer into the wood, and then this allows you to drill a bolt into it that will have the climbing hold connected to it, and that holds the climbing hold into the wall. So these are very essential, and I'll talk more about them in the video. Of course, it had to start out with a significant run to Home Depot. So I spent about maybe $600 at Home Depot in my first run, and that was including all materials plus one or two extra tools that I thought might be handy, but for the most part I had all the tools I already needed. This is just a quick shot of the initial skeleton frame that I was working on before I started actually filming, and then we'll see here in the time-lapse videos of me putting all that together. So to talk initial setup here, my frame for the wall is 8 feet by 8 feet, and that's because plywood sheets come in 4 feet by 8 feet sections. So I just needed two. I thought that'd be easier for construction. And I thought about maybe originally going 16 inches on center for the supports, but I ended up doing 24. I found that to be strong enough for me, and then I put some braces in between those supports, somewhere between 20 and 30 inches. I wasn't too exact with it, just wanted something that was going to be sturdy enough. So here I am taping out my T-nut bolt pattern grid. Each intersection of tape is where I would drill a hole for the T-nuts. And to elaborate on the importance of T-nuts, that is what allows you to rearrange the climbing holds. If you simply drilled them into the wood, then they would be stuck there, otherwise taking them out would leave a hole. So the T-nuts allow for that adjustability on your climbing wall to set new climbing routes and to move the holds around without damaging the wall further, since the T-nuts live in the wood permanently. And of course the best part, the lower back pain inducing drilling of all the T-nut holes. I used a drill guide to make sure that they were straight and perpendicular to the surface. Not sure how critical this would be since it's only a 3/4 inch thick plywood. Probably would be fine just doing it without it. And then of course vacuuming that all up, pulling off the tape, and setting it all up to get painted. Here you'll notice that I am re-drilling the T-nut holes. Drilled them too small the first time at 3/8, so I believe they needed to be a 1/16 larger than the actual T-nut size, so I drilled them at 7/16, which actually worked better and allowed them to fit correctly. Here I am hammering in all the T-nuts. I thought it would be a good idea to pre-place them, but as soon as I started hammering, they all came loose, so that didn't work out very well. Once they're in, I set the plywood sheets on top of the frame, drilled that in with screws on the outside of the frame and also the inside, kind of in the middle. And then here I put some additional braces, which helped secure the plywood to the middle of the wall, because they were kind of bowing out in the middle. I needed something to secure them down to. And then lastly, I'm doing some painting to get my pattern on there. Went back into the garage here to work on the kicker board that will go underneath the main wall. It's about 1 foot tall, about 8 feet wide. Kind of the same way I built the rest of the wall, just a lot smaller here. So there's the final paint job, and here's me trying to wrestle this thing up into place. This 200 plus pound wall that I've just built. That was really fun. And getting the kicker in place here, and then you'll notice after I get all this set up, I do a good amount of standing around and thinking, realizing that I can't possibly move on to the next step of this project on my own simply because of how heavy everything is. So in the next video, we'll fast forward about 2 weeks when my wife is back in town to help me. So I had my wife Tessa help me lift up the wall and prop it up into position so I could start installing the hinges on the bottom of the wall and on the top of the kicker to make that connection. It took a little bit to get those lined up correctly, but ended up working out quite well. And here I am installing the rest of the floor frame, those slots where the support arms will go into. And I'll add here that because I made the support arms thicker, two 2x6s next to each other, I had to make the slots larger with some extra spacers to account for that thickness change. And in this video here, not the best angle, but we can see Tessa helping me install the support arms and getting them in the slot, and then getting the wall locked in at the correct angle, about 30 degrees, although it is adjustable, so I can change that if I'd like to. So finally, to the fun part here, the wall is up. Got to put on my first set of holds, although the first hold I put on there, I did dislodge the T-nut, so that I had to fix that. That was a good start to my route setting, but after that it went pretty smoothly. Got to kind of hang test the wall a little bit, and it felt very sturdy, so I was really happy with how the supports turned out and the overall strength of the wall. Then of course we got to climbing on it right away. So overall really happy with how this turned out. Probably spent a total of somewhere between 30 and 40 hours of work on it, coming in around just under $1,000 total for the entire wall, including climbing holds, because I got a lot of them used, some for free and some on a used website for pretty cheap. So yeah, really happy with how it turned out, and I'm excited to build some more in the future. Thanks for watching.